Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Just holla in the chat. Hi, Leah. You sound okay. Perfect. Okay, well, let's get started. I know there's only 9 of you out of the 25 registered, but we'll just let other people roll in as they need. Okay, so hi, my name is Tammy. I'm going to go ahead and hit the screen share here. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. All right, I assume that you will all let me know if this does not look like it's working correctly. Are you seeing a split screen or, whoops, this is always a struggle for me for some reason. All right, seeing endless mirrors. Yep, got it. Okay, are you seeing my presentation now? Yes, perfect. Okay, hi designers. So as you know, I'm Tammy Cody, and I run an interior design studio in San Luis Obispo, California. And I also run SketchUp for interiordesigners.com. And I'm so happy that you are joining me here today for this live training on how to create an elevation drawing from a floor plan. So in general, this is my general SketchUp workflow. I normally draw a floor plan, and then that turns into a 3D model. And that's where I pull my elevation drawings from. However, many designers don't want to do the 3D model. Either it feels daunting to them, they aren't ready to learn it, or they simply don't have time to develop a 3D model and they just need a quick floor plan and elevation drawing, and that's totally fine. So in many of my trainings, I go through this procession, like I just said, the 3D model, then I pull my elevation drawings from that. But for today, we are just going to skip the 3D model and just pull them straight from our floor plan. So I'm going to skip over here to SketchUp real quick here. Okay, so this is the floor plan that we will be pulling our elevation drawings from today. So it's pretty simple, as you can see. It's just a basic 3-bedroom, 1 bath. And we had a request last week to pull an elevation drawing from a kitchen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull an elevation from this kitchen wall here, and then I'm also going to come down here and pull an elevation from this wall, just so that we have a few examples. And if anybody has any questions as I move throughout, please let me know either in the chat or in the Q&A area. And I'll do my best to keep an eye on those. Just hop in there and might take me a minute to see it. Okay, so if you've ever taken drafting, you'll know that when you draw a floor plan, you pull your elevation drawings from, so this wall, this entire wall, the elevation drawing would be here. You pull all of your horizontal measurements from this wall. And this wall, the elevation drawing would be here, and it would be drawn sideways, basically. And this wall, the elevation drawing would be done here. So if I were drawing by hand, which obviously I can't draw, with a real pencil on this on the screen, but if I were doing drafting by hand, I would just bring all of my horizontal measurements in an upward fashion like this. And I would use those to then develop my elevation drawing. But we're not drawing by hand, obviously. So what I do is I just take my tape measure, T for tape, and I just go around and I double click, and that will create lines. In some cases, I have to pull it from another line. Double clicking on these smaller lines doesn't quite work the same way. So all of the measurements horizontally here, like my sink, I'd like to include. I just need to create these vertical lines upwards. And like I said before, if you've ever taken drafting, you'll know that it gets a little bit hairy, but we'll go back in there and we'll clean it all up. Okay, and you can choose, I included this wall thickness here. You can either include that or exclude that. It's up to you, whatever you'd like to do. Okay, next, I would like to create a floor plane. So I can take this tape measure and just drop it anywhere above this area. And this is going to be the line for my floor. And now I need to make a very specific ceiling height. So I need to know that height. And for this kitchen, it's going to be 8 feet. So what I did was I typed T for tape measure, or you can hit this icon up here. I should have said that earlier. Click and release, and then you just start dragging upward. And I'm just going to type 8 feet. And you can see down here in this dimensions box that when I type 8 feet, it enters it into that dimensions box. And I'm sure many of you have heard, if you've ever taken SketchUp tutorials or courses, you don't want to click in this dimensions box down here. You can just start typing. Okay, so now we've got our basic tape measure lines. And now I'm just going to go in and first I'm going to fill in a few of them and then I'll start designing. So the first ones I'm going to fill in are the walls and the floors. So I'm just going to get my rectangle tool, R for rectangle, or this icon up here. And this is going to be to the outside of the wall thickness. And this is going to be from wall to wall. So from this wall to this wall. Oop, this wall is this wall and this wall. Let me know if that's not making sense to anybody. Okay, so now I've got my wall thickness here. You can see that it's created 2 separate faces. Now I'm going to go through and start drawing in my cabinets. So generally they're 36 inches high. So I'm just going to drop a line from here to here, and I typed 36, enter. Katya says, do you reverse faces first or later? You know, for this, I don't really keep track of the faces and which way they're facing, because then I just change the style when I present. So I'll change it to a black and white style as I present. Does that kind of answer your question? Yep, okay. And I don't know, Katya actually teaches SketchUp as well, and she's joining us. So as we've found, and I found, there's many different ways to do one thing. And as far as reversing faces goes, I really only worry about that if I'm working on a 3D model and I'm going to be rendering it, because that's when it really starts to mess with the quality of my render. But other than that, I change the color of the face in the styles setting, whether it's here or if I'm using layout, I will worry about the color of the face with styles. Okay, Dawn said, did you make a rectangle for the face from the outside wall thickness to outside wall thickness? And then rectangles for them. So, I mean, you could do it anyway. Let's see, I'm gonna back up here. So, I mean, you could even just do lines. All we're doing is we're just creating geometry to represent, I mean, you could do that. Just as long as our lines intersect with each other, that created the same thing. I could do that. I could, you know, draw a rectangle from interior wall to interior wall. It doesn't matter what order you do it in, whatever you find to be most efficient. As long as we've created different faces here. And for elevation drawings, since we're not going to be modeling this, it might not even matter if it creates a face, just as long as you are able to convey your design to your client efficiently and effectively. All right, so I hope that answered your question, Dawn. These are basically just 3 different rectangles, and however you create them is up to you. So again, now I'm going to start doing my vertical measurements. And for an elevation drawing, once we have our floor plan, like I said, we have all of our horizontal distances. That's what all of these are. This is every single horizontal measurement that we need. Now we just need to bring in our vertical lines. And so as I start to draw these in, I'll be able to clean up these vertical lines. And if you've ever drawn an elevation, you know that right here, we're going to see this side right here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that in with a rectangle. So this face here is the side of the cabinet as we're facing this wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get an X with my line tool, L for line, and draw an X there. And then the same goes for the uppers. So we've got 18 inches. And let's just say they reach the ceiling. We could say they're 3 feet if we'd like. And draw an X. And you might want to do something different other than an X. It's just, like I said, it's totally up to you, however you want to represent this to your clients. Okay, so now we've got, let's see, we've got a refrigerator here, this line. So I'm going to bring this rectangle to represent the base cabinets. And I'll work on these base cabinets a little bit more, but for now I'm just going to draw a rectangle so that I have my sink base, a cabinet, and a cabinet. Because I'd like to work on these windows so I can get rid of some of these lines. Okay, so I'm going to delete this one. That was our upper cabinet. And I'm going to make an 8-inch backsplash. So now I'm just designing vertically. And I'd like my windows, I think, to be 3 feet high, because I want the header to be right at 6'8". All right. Now I can fill in those windows and I can see they're separated there. It's probably going to be thicker in real life, but now I can delete these windows and this one. All right, so now I've got 2 faces for our windows. Actually, you can probably see that I did that incorrectly. This is the window. So I'm just going to get my line tool, fill that in, and delete these guys. That was supposed to be my refrigerator. All right, so we've got our windows. We've got some base cabinets that we need to still design. I'm going to work on my refrigerator a little bit. And I don't know how tall my refrigerator is going to be, but I'm just going to say 70 inches and fill that rectangle in so that we can get moving on that. Okay, it looks like I've got all of the vertical dimensions that I need for now. So I'm going to go ahead and instead of taking my eraser tool and deleting every single line, I'm just going to go up to Edit, Delete Guides. And I think I mentioned this in the last webinar, but be careful not to go to View and uncheck Guides. You want to make sure that you're on Edit, Delete Guides. If you uncheck Guides under View, you'll notice that you can no longer see them when you create them. Okay, so now basically we're just going to go in and we're going to design our cabinets. So I like to do a 4-inch toe kick. And then I just get my line tool. And if you hold down Shift, you can see that that red axis has been highlighted and it will not let me veer. You could probably tell when I had View, I had the axis unchecked. I think that was because I was working on this in the past and happened to uncheck that. But your axis will still work. And the red and the green axis is what we're looking for when we're drawing 2D. When we're in top view like this, you want to make sure that your lines stay plumb and perpendicular to each other. And the red axis and the green axis is the perfect tool to help us do that. All right. And now I'm going to do, I like to do a 2-inch countertop. I know that in reality it might be not quite so thick or maybe thicker, but just enough to show in this elevation drawing. 2 inches is good. Okay, and again, I held down the shift and I just clicked somewhere on this plane. All right, now I can go in here and begin to clean it up a little bit. All right. Now we've got a dishwasher, maybe on this side, 24 inches over. And you can see I'm just measuring it out. And for here, perhaps I want to split the difference. Perhaps these are prefab and I need to know how much this corner cabinet is. Maybe it's 36 inches from the wall. It's just all about planning out your cabinets. Maybe, let's just call this one big one just for the sake of moving on. Okay, so we've got a corner cabinet. We're gonna have a bank of drawers, our kitchen sink, dishwasher, and then another bank of drawers. So to create drawers, I like to do a few different things. Well, let's start here. This is going to be our sink. So this blue dot is going to be the middle line of this line right here. So I'm just going to take that, hold down my shift key once it hits the green axis, and click and release. Now I've got 2 doors. We're going to put our trash and recycling in there. This will be our dishwasher, like I said before. Okay, now let's do some drawers. We could do one of 2 things. We could maybe use our blue dot to make 2 large drawers. We could measure them out. Perhaps this is 6 inches. Or perhaps we want to do 3 equal drawers. So I like to click on one of the lines, either side, and then I right click on it and I hit divide. And this will divide it into equal segments. And when you stop for a second, you can see that it will let you know how long each segment is going to be. So often I like to create 3 equal drawers. And instead of measuring out 10 inches twice with my tape measure, I just divide this line. And now these lines are in 3 equal segments of 10 inches. So when I hit L for line, this green dot will be the end of each line. The blue dot's the middle and the green dot is the end. So now I have 3 10-inch drawers. For this one, I'm gonna do the 6-inch. And this might not be the best design. Maybe we want this over here and vice versa, but this is just for learning. So this one will be 6 inches. And now I want to split the difference. So now I'll find the blue dot. And these 2 are equal. And this might be our silverware drawer. Okay. And that's looking pretty good. And you might have a cabinet above your refrigerator. You might have a panel that is 2 inches here to help cover your refrigerator. It's all up to you. And that's why elevations are so great. They're easy and fast, and they really help you visualize and plan these kitchen cabinets. That's probably really too short, but that's how I would do that. Maybe just a bit taller. The same with uppers. I know that there's windows here, but if you had uppers, you would just be drawing them in the same fashion. Pretend those windows aren't there for a second. And you would just be measuring them out, drawing them upward. It's like I said, it's all about geometry, lines, rectangles. Katya, so what are upper cabinets? So there aren't any uppers on this wall because of the windows. But if we were drawing here, these are upper cabinets. These would be upper cabinets. Okay, so now I like to do a couple more things. I like to make these drawers look a little bit less like just plain old rectangles and I like to add some molding to them. And to do that, we're going to use our offset, and that's this guy right up here, or the letter F. And so now when I hover over each face, you can see that it's highlighted them. If you happen to click on one beforehand with your select tool, and then you hit your offset, and now I hover over the other faces, they won't highlight. So if you want that, you just press escape and it will let go of that face. Okay, so now I just click and release, and you can see that it's offsetting inward, the same distance around that face, or I can bring it outward. This is handy when you're drawing floor plans as well. But I'm going to go inward, and I'm just going to hit the number 3 and enter. And now it created a 3-inch face. So maybe it's a shaker style cabinet door. You could do one more. I mean, this is probably overkill, and then do a really small one so that it looks a little bit thicker, or some extra trim in there. But I like to do just a simple shaker style. And once you hit 3 for one, you can just go around to the other ones and double click, and it will create a 3-inch offset. Oh, that one's only 6 inches, so it doesn't have the space for it. And perhaps you have a panel over your dishwasher. And this one's going to be a little bit different. Well, it depends on the style of the door, or how much you can see, but maybe it's like this. Maybe not. It just depends on what your corner cabinet looks like. All right, I know these are itty bitty up here, but we'll just do that. And you might want to develop the drawing a little bit more to show what your refrigerator looks like, or what your windows look like. Maybe you want them to have a little bit of trim, just to make it look a little bit more real. All right. Or a faucet even. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to move down here. Actually, we're not going to move on. I'd like to show you how to dimension these, because of course, that is important when we're conveying our design to our clients. Okay, any questions so far? Everybody following along? I know I'm moving pretty quickly, but this recording will be available at the same link if you want to come back and rewatch it and hit pause throughout when you're working on your own projects. This may be helpful to come back and rewatch. Okay, where do these webinars? If we want to rewatch, I think that you're asking, where do you see the webinars? If you want to rewatch, it's just at the exact same link that you're watching it on now. So you can bookmark that link and come back to it. And as soon as I hit end for the webinar, you'll be able to watch the replay. I think it maybe takes a few minutes for it to develop, but you can watch it in the exact same link. And I'll post it to the Facebook group. Okay, so now let's do some dimensions. That is found under Tools, Dimensions. And I've created a shortcut, and I did a blog post a few weeks ago about creating a shortcut for dimensions, because I just use it so often. Sometimes I just need a reminder to see how long something is, or maybe I'm sitting with the client working in SketchUp and they want to know quickly. So I have the shortcut, the letter D, but I will post on the Facebook group where you can find that blog post for creating shortcuts. Okay, so to create a dimension, you just go from either endpoint to endpoint this way. Click and release, and bring it down. It will be attached to your cursor. You don't have to hold and drag it. You can go from endpoint to midpoint and bring it down. So really, you could go from any endpoint to any endpoint. I don't know why you would need to do that one for this example. But it will not allow you, let me try and find a good example. It won't let you go from endpoint to here because there is no endpoint. There's nothing for it to stick to. So what I do for that is I just hit my tape measure and I double click here, T for tape, double click, and I get my dimensions tool. It's under tools, dimensions. I could have the letter D though. And I go from endpoint to intersection, and then I bring it down. And then I just delete that tape measure line. You can also, so I'm going to delete this. So this is going to be our sink base. And for those kitchen designers out there, you'll know that you often like to, instead of just saying 36 inches, you might want to say sink base. So you just get your select tool, spacebar, and double click on it and start writing SB36. And that edited that. For this, you might want to say, double click on that and say DW24. It's just up to you and how you like to do your elevation drawings and whatever your cabinet maker and your clients need. Let me look over here to the, okay, no questions. Okay, and I think that the default for SketchUp is, especially in this template, is feet and inches. And you can see that mine is displaying inches only. So to change that, if you wanted this to change to feet and inches, or if you were in feet and inches, you want to change to just inches, you would go to Window, Model Info, and it's going to be right here under Units. So right now I'm on fractional. If I change it to architectural, and then I click out of it, you can see that this changed to 3 feet. I had edited these, so those stayed the same, but you can see that this is now in feet and inches. But for those kitchen designers out there, I know that you often like to only measure in inches because that's what your cabinet makers do. So let's go back here, Window, Model Info, and Units. Fractional. I know that's a lot of, maybe I'll do a blog post about that just so that you have that information at the ready. And if you're on a PC, you might have to click OK. I know that's often the case with these windows, but if you're on a Mac, you just close out of this, and now it's changed back to inches. Okay, is there a standard distance between below elevation? That's a great question, Kenny. Maybe some of our other designers can chime in. Kenny asked if there's a standard distance below the elevation to put dimensions. I've never had a standard distance. I usually just do whatever looks balanced with enough space between, because often there will be a dimension for the entire wall that's below that. So I think as long as you're consistent, it doesn't really matter. And if you're too close to this line, it's going to look jumbled. You can get your move tool and move these around, M for move, but they will snap to each other. So if I do this guy, actually I'm going to need my tape measure. So if I have this corner cabinet, this is snapping to this point. So that's really handy. Yeah, sorry, Kenny, I don't have a really great answer for that. But of course, our dimensions will likely go, if we had uppers like here, these are going to go above likely. And we've got vertical dimensions as well. So we've got these guys here. Likewise, on this side, we're going to want to know how high our uppers are from the base, and so on. And in SketchUp, there's a way to make notes. This guy right up here, the text tool, and it will create a leader line like this, and then we can just start typing. Like I'm going to say these are uppers and click out of it. The only issue with that, I don't love that, because the only issue is as we zoom out, you can see that this still stays fairly large. This is much more handy. This feature is more handy, or something similar to this, in the program layout, which is only available with SketchUp Pro. But they have some really great dimensioning tools and leader lines, and it's a lot more flexible as far as what you can do. And that may be a setting that we can change, actually. Maybe Katya can chime in if we can change this setting, that it will stay the same when we zoom out. I'm not sure about that, but okay. So let's go down here to our fireplace. And this one's going to be a lot more simple than our kitchen, because obviously kitchens have a lot of details. So again, I got my tape measure tool, and I'm just coming around here, double clicking, and I'm dropping some tape measure lines. And I've actually had a few people email me this week, and let me know that their tape measure tool wasn't quite working the way they had hoped. And it turns out both of them, and this is actually, I think, a pretty common issue when you're first starting out, they weren't pulling their tape line from another line. They were starting in a blank space outside of the drawing area, clicking and releasing, and trying to bring it this way. And they were saying it wasn't showing up. So you either have to pull it from an axis, and I'm going to recheck my axis and see if I can find it here. Yep, there it is. You can pull it, click and release, and pull it from an axis point. Same with your green axis, which is covered in here. There we go. Or from another line, another piece of geometry. So you can pull it from here, but you cannot pull it from a blank drawing space. Okay. So again, I'm going to pull my horizontal line and drop it here. And now I'm going to have another 8-foot ceiling. This may be a bit taller in the living room, but we're just going to keep it consistent for the sake of learning. So we've got our floor and our ceiling lines. Now you can choose to draw this upside down since we're pulling it from here, but I'm just going to go ahead and draw it right side up, because I want this to be my floor and this to be my ceiling, because that makes more sense to me. So rectangle tool, R for rectangle. I'm going to click on these intersections. And again, I created this wall thickness here and here. And I'm going to start drawing my fireplace. So these are windows. I'm going to say these are 1 foot from the ground, and they're 6 to 8 tall. Rectangle tool here and here. Now I can get rid of those lines. And I can also get rid of these guys and just focus on my fireplace. Okay, and this is our opening. And you would have to find your specific fireplace, the inserts and things like that, to see what the dimensions are. But I'm just going to keep designing like this. Perhaps it has a mantle, maybe 9 inches off, 5 inches thick. And I'm going to say, I don't want it to be the full length, so I'm going to hit the midpoint. Whoops. I'm going to hit the midpoint. For some reason it doesn't want to, there it is. Here and here. So as you can see, I'm just using my tape measure tool to help me design and plan so that everything is symmetrical. Okay. And that is the easiest elevation ever. But I hope that that Again, I'm gonna just hit 1 inch and 1 inch here to make those a bit thicker. I hope that kind of illustrates how easy it is to pull your elevation drawings from your floor plan, because like I said, you already have your horizontal distances along these walls. You just need your vertical distances. All right, does anybody have any questions before I move on to styles? Yes, Katya said, I agree. It's much easier to add this notation and layout. And I think we might have just a few minutes at the end here to show you a little bit about layout, just so that you can see what we're talking about. Where do you move the elevations after you have drawn them? Perfect question. Okay, so first I'm going to change the style, and then I'm going to show you how what to do with these elevations and how to present them. Okay, so I usually do not present these in blue. This just happens to be the default color in the construction documentation feet and inches template that many of you know I like to work in. So to change this, I'm going to get my styles window, and that's right here. And I usually have all of these nice and lined up. I moved them out of the way for this. I'm going to open that. No, that's scenes. Where's styles? There it is. And if you don't have this window, you can go to Window and check Styles. Okay, and you can either just choose this hidden line. This was our original. You can use your paint bucket tool to maybe get rid of this blue. So you can go around, sorry, I'm kind of jumping around here, I realize. To get rid of this blue, we can either just paint it white with our paint bucket tool, or we can choose a different style. But as you can see, when I choose a different style, these are no longer black walls like they often are in floor plans. So you just have to pick a favorite style, choose a method that works for you. Sometimes I just paint it white. To get rid of all of the blue at once, you can hold down the Shift key. Where did it go? Let's see here. And everything that is that color blue in this drawing has now turned white. So there will be no more of that blue. If you just wanted to change this one, but not the other one, I'm going to hold down my Option key. Sorry. And it will have only changed this one. I believe if you're on a PC, it will be the Control key, and maybe somebody can let me know if that's incorrect. But if you're on a Mac, you can hold down your Option, and it will only change anything that was that color blue that was touching that face. So this one was not touching that face, so it won't change. Okay, so I'm just going to hit Shift and change everything to this white. Okay, so now what do we do with these? How do we present them? You can either leave them where they're at, or you can highlight them with your Select tool. So I just press spacebar and I highlighted it. Click and drag, or you can triple click to select the entire geometry here. And you might want to group it together before you move it. Command G, or if you're on a PC, it's going to be Edit, Make Group. And now I can get my Move tool, and I can move all of my elevation drawings to one area if you're presenting directly from SketchUp. So again, here, I'm going to select this and group it. I mean, you might not need to move them all in one area if you're not presenting directly from SketchUp. So we've got this one here, this one here. And now I'm going to create scenes. So you can see I have Plan View as one scene. I'm going to pan over with my pan tool, P for pan. And I'm going to open this scenes window and press the plus sign. So you can see it added another scene. If I want to rename that, I just drop down this details bar here, highlight scene 2, and call it kitchen elevation. Okay, now I can pan over to this one and hit the plus sign again. And I can change it here, fireplace elevation. So now if you happen to present directly from SketchUp, which I know everyone has a different method of what they like to do, you can hit plan view, and that's pretty clean. You can zoom in a little bit more if you'd like. That keeps it pretty clean. If you want to show them now the kitchen elevation, the fireplace elevation, like that. You can also use these scenes if you present in PowerPoint or Photoshop. You can go to File, Export, 2D Graphic, and create a file for each of these to import into whatever you're presenting in. So you would do that for each scene. File, Export, 2D Graphic. And you would do the same for your plan view. Sorry, I'm looking at the questions. I think I may have missed this, but what format? Okay, so Julie, I use the construction documentation feet and inches template. And I just like that because it starts me in plan view. It starts me viewing from the top, and it is just a nice clean white background. Some people like architectural. It kind of starts you with a more isometric view, but it's just up to you. Okay, so really quick, you can present directly from SketchUp. You can get these scenes and export them into 2D graphics, or I'm going to save this, Command S or File, Save, and I'm going to hit this button right here, Send to Layout. And this is my preferred method for presentation. Close this guy. I have some default templates. This program works in tandem with SketchUp. They're two separate programs on my Launchpad, but this does come with SketchUp Pro. And this is just a design documentation software. And you can see that this is a page size. I like to use a regular letter size paper for many smaller projects. And you can see it's brought our 3D model onto a paper size. So now I would just go through and find my scenes. So you can see it brought those scenes right into here. So this one's going to be my plan view. And I can change the scale. I can dimension it. I can choose 1/4 of a scale. I can choose 1/8 of a scale. It just depends on what will fit. Anyway, I can use all of these tools to dimension it. This is the leader line I was talking about earlier that's really a lot more clean looking and a lot more customizable than the other one. You can see I've got my firm's information here in the title block. Some of the title blocks are more eloquent looking. They have your logo. I can dimension it very easily here. But this is just a whole nother program, and I actually have a course on that if you're interested. But again, this is only available with SketchUp Pro. Okay, I'm going to check the questions real quick as we are coming up on 45 minutes. Can you rotate your floor plan as you are drawing the elevations? So that each elevation you're drawing it as you actually see it. Yeah, you could do that if you'd like. You could group the whole thing together or just highlight it. And you can get this rotate tool. And you would just click and release, and begin to rotate it. So if that helps you draw it, go for it. But it just depends on your own personal workflow. You'll get your routine down. Everybody works a little bit more differently, and yeah, it's totally up to you. Whatever helps you draw it. I like to keep my floor plan stationary just for the sake of my views, and I don't know, it just helps me conceptualize it a little bit more if I have it in my mind one way. Yeah, everybody works a little bit differently. Architectural has profiles which slow down your model. It's also really gray. Like the architect lives in Seattle or something. Yeah, it's true. I just like the clean white background. And you can change the styles before you start working in it. Maybe you want to start in a hidden line. You can even set up your own template, I believe. So if I go to new, you can see I'm starting in top view. And if I O orbit, this is how an architectural kind of starts with this blue axis coming straight up here. So say you want to start here with the hidden line. This one's kind of a favorite of mine because it works quickly and it's all in white. So now I can go to File, Save as Template, and use that one each time I start a new drawing. It's totally up to you. And like I said, you will get your favorites and develop your own workflow variations. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm going to come back over here to my presentation, and I wanted to let you all know that there's a coupon good for today only as a thank you for joining the webinar. And the next two webinars, so next week we're going to talk about, I believe it's textures, and I'll post it to my Facebook page, but next week I'm going to talk about textures and how they really make your 3D model come to life in a very fast and easy way. And you can customize your model to look more like what your client is envisioning. We're going to talk about good textures and bad textures and how to use it for tile and flooring and all that great stuff. So it will make your model look more style specific. And like we covered last week, we're going to put some photos on the wall, things like that. And then the following week, we're going to talk about 3D models from the 3D warehouse, and good models, bad models, different companies that offer 3D models, how to move them within your model once you've brought them into your drawing, all that good stuff. I know that some people have said that they were frustrated in the past with their furniture going below the floor plane, things like that. So we're going to talk about a few different methods for moving your furniture around. Thanks so much, designers, for joining me today. And yeah, let me know. I'm Tammy at SketchUpForInteriorDesigners.com. If you have any requests for courses, tutorials, webinars, just want to say hi. I've gotten a few requests for live trainings in your local areas. Please let me know if that is something you're interested in, and I can find a larger group. And yeah, I have a training coming up next month in San Luis Obispo in my hometown. If you're San Francisco to LA local, I'd love to see you there. And yeah, thanks everybody. Have a great day.